Have you guys ever seen a wasp nest and thought, damn, I bet that would hurt a lot if someone were to mess with that? Well, that wasp nest is called The Last of Us 2, and like the dumbass I am, I'm bothering and kicking the shit out of that nest in this video. I was minding my own business a week ago when I get recommended a subreddit that I visited once or twice, and let's see what it's called. Oh, r/Last of Us Part 2. You would assume when a subreddit is based around something, its members would enjoy or at the very least tolerate the topic it's on. But no, everyone in this subreddit hates The Last of Us Part 2. And here I was thinking that r/racism was just a group of League of Legends players who finally went to agree on something for once. Hopefully most of you watching this video will be unfamiliar with the discourse around The Last of Us 2, which has been one of the most popular sequels in the past decade. Thinking about this game again for the past week and seeing so many brain-rotted opinions on all sides made me just say, you know what? Fine. So I binged so many reviews, video essays, clips, and cutscenes of this game that I am now ready to add some fuel to the shit pile that is the discussion around this game. But this video will contain massive spoilers for The Last of Us 2, and I will also be spoiling the first game as well, so be warned. I played The Last of Us 2 for the first time the day it released back in 2020. I was on summer vacation and binged the hell out of this game. I finished the first game for the first time about a month or two before playing the second, and I was desperate to have more of the world and characters that I loved so much. I rewatched trailers, E3 footage back when that was still a thing, and read so many interviews on what the game was going to be like. I was so incredibly pumped. But before the game came out, major plot details such as Joel's death and other things were leaked, and people were outraged at the game before it was even released. Even at the time, I thought this was way too overblown. The game had literally not even come out yet, and people were already drafting their meticulous one-star reviews about how Naughty Dog is washed and the game sucks ass. Oh, and before anyone comes at me saying, damn Dylan, because you didn't like certain parts of this game, I think you hate strong women and lesbians. Shut up. If you think I hate those things, then go look at my fucking internet search history and come back to me. But I managed to avoid all spoilers, and when I finally got the game in my hands and played through the whole thing, I heralded the game as a masterpiece and a perfect second half to what the first game sets up. As time has gone on, however, certain choices that the story has made has grinded my gears in particular, and really made me just not want to think of the game ever again, much less play it again. I will now go through my biggest talking points of the game, and why I either enjoyed those points or disliked them. Let's go ahead and start with what I enjoyed about the story and game experience. The combat in this game is damn good. All of the animations and movements are so damn fluid, especially when you play as Ellie. Ellie controlling differently and being much more mobile and agile than Joel makes a bunch of sense because in The Last of Us 1, Joel's built like a brick shithouse and can pretty much beat anyone in a fistfight because he's a hardened survivor. Ellie, on the other hand, is a teenage girl who has spent 5 years in a place that is pretty much self-sufficient in a zombie apocalypse, so she's not exactly getting jacked. And the gameplay reflects this change. There are way less all-out brawls you participate in as Ellie without basic melee weapons, and being stealthy is almost a necessity on the harder difficulties. The environments and levels made for this game are also super fun, especially the Slaver's compound in the last level of the game where you can use the infected as crowd control among other things. And the graphics, ooh, the graphics of this game, brother. It is so incredible to look at this game, just to stare at it. It's like, damn, they cooked here. While I played the game on medium difficulties, I have heard that the enjoyment you can get from the combat increases even more on the hardest difficulty because of the resource scarcity, and it forces you to be more creative when going through the levels. Overall, whether you're playing as Ellie or Abby in the game, they both have great combat sections that make them super fun and the thing I enjoyed the most about the game by far. It is the greatest selling point of the game for me by far in a series that wasn't previously known for outstanding combat. Out of all of the video games that I've played in my life, none quite hit the same notes as this game does. Especially when it plays with perspective and how actions that you've committed have consequences from a perspective that you never even considered previously. While Abby is a character I have some complications with, I will get to that later, her role in the story as a stranger and outside perspective to all the things that we did in the first game is super interesting. The story is also intertwined with the themes of revenge and forgiveness, which in media I often find to be super stale. Just the main character being like, man, fuck that guy, he shit on my porch, I'm gonna spend the next season of television finding that guy and killing him, is so incredibly two-dimensional when written that way. The Last of Us 2, however, plays with this idea and makes you question revenge and justice, because you see all of the horrid effects that revenge has on people and the people that surround them. Ellie is horrified at some of the things she does in this game, and how many people close to her she indirectly killed by going on this revenge quest in the first place. More than that, Abby is a character that is built off of the idea of revenge and what is left in its wake. I really like the exploration of revenge and forgiveness and what revenge can do to people and how the cycle of violence never truly stops unless you are able to forgive. And while I have mixed feelings about the narrative because while yes, Ellie did throw everything away for the sake of revenge by leaving again, she did make the right choice in the end. I go back and forth on this ending because while yes, it does make thematic sense that Ellie leaving for revenge has its consequences, the ending is just so damn bleak. Ellie breaks the cycle of violence and then returns to an empty home with nobody to turn to. All of the characters from the first game are either dead or broken, making the ending feel super unfulfilling despite it making thematic sense. In the modern video game industry, games that are made to tell a single narrative with no other microtransactions or player engagement triggers tricks is something that I will always appreciate. This is especially true with video games and the overflow of battle passes and microtransactions. If my life were a video game, I would half expect my mom to throw my plate of half-eaten Thanksgiving dinner across the room before declaring that I need to purchase more gems to be able to finish the meal. So having such a high-budget game that also tells a bold narrative such as this one gets many kudos from me. Having you play as the antagonist for the second half of a narrative in a game is super bold, especially when this antagonist did such a horrid act at the start of the game. But that's pretty much it. I appreciate that they did these perspective switches, but the way it's done is not very good, so you get points for having good ideas, but you lose some for poor execution. Execution. Get it? The scenes with Ellie and Joel in this game? Peak. Literally the best parts about this game. Man, I wish there was a game with just these two in it. Anyway, now to talk about the things I didn't like. Yeah, Joel's death is super sloppily written. At the start of the game, Abby is searching for the man who killed her father, and that man is Joel. And she basically just runs into Joel by coincidence as he saves her from some zombies. Not only that, but the scene where Abby's group finds out that the man that just saved them is the man that they've been looking for has a problem as well. Joel just casually drops his name in a room completely surrounded by armed strangers. And while yes, you can argue that living in Jackson and his experiences with Ellie has softened him up, you expect me to believe that the man who has hands stained more than Shinji Ikari would just forget all of his survival skills he built up over 20 years just goes away in 5? I really don't think so. Other than that, there are so many moments of the characters in this game just having insane plot armor. You could put together a whole compilation of moments of the main cast being saved by coincidence or surviving events that would have been deadly. In fact, I'm just going to show this moment from Angry Joe's review of The Last of Us 2 because it showcases this point really well.
No, I'm not.
What did I fuck up now?
Get the other! Don't lose her! Go! Jordan! We're supposed to be out looking for the other one.
Plot armor.
What the fuck is this?
There's a shipper right there.
The smuggler that we
Kill all trespassers.
Oh, hold on. That doesn't make any sense. Can you just think for yourself for a quick second right now?
Out of my way.
Shoot her? Shoot her?
Jesus.
Shoot them.
Come here.
There are so many other moments like Ellie conveniently leaving a detailed map of her location at the scene of one of her brutal murders.
That's my fucking location!
And moments like a pregnant woman who is on a combat mission calling another person on the mission a piece of shit. But the thing is, she is just as much of a piece of shit for leaving her organization's safe compound while pregnant in the apocalypse. And you're supposed to think she's justified in her argument? All of the new characters added into this game either range from okay, forgettable, to absolutely horrible and annoying. Abby's group is supposed to have a close bond with one another as a unit and have banter to get you to like them. But that doesn't work very well when the same people tortured, killed, and spit on a character the player loved. Oh man, why wouldn't I like Manny? He's so likable.
Fuck! And spit on that thing, you get me?
The characters that travel with Ellie are alright. Jesse was kind of done dirty with his death, and I wanted more scenes with Dina to flesh out her character, but these weren't nearly as bad as Abby's group. My final negative of the game is probably one of the largest issues I have, and that is the blunt messaging with Abby and how they decided to build her character and structure in this story. Throughout the game, you are rapidly switching between the perspectives of Ellie and Abby, so you never get the time to breathe with them and what they are doing. You're just jump cutting all the time. Sometimes I even get the feeling that the game is out of order with how the flashbacks are positioned in this game, and just got me confused as to why we were doing this now when I was playing this game. And when you play as Abby and meet Yara and Lev, it is good that she gets characters to bond with so you can see the development of and expand more of her character. What I cannot stand is just how they beg you to sympathize with Abby. It is good how they try to humanize her character, but it's just way too over the top and obvious that I really didn't like it. Lev is so obviously supposed to symbolize Ellie from the first game with Abby as Joel, since she looks out for him and their bond is so similar. The writers of this game even use dirty tricks like making Abby loved by a dog her group has, but then showing Ellie killing that dog, which is supposed to make you think, man, Abby loves dogs. Ellie hates dogs. Abby is so much better than Ellie. It is so annoying that I can just picture the developers begging me to like Abby when they pull shit like this. And this game also has a weird obsession with making female characters on Ellie and Abby's perspectives pregnant and using that as an obvious message about responsibility and how important these characters' safety are, and if they get harmed that it's such a horrific act. It just feels so cheap overall, especially for Dina, man. When she just mentions randomly that she is pregnant and then that plot point takes complete control over a conversation that just mentioned that Ellie is one of the few people to ever exist that is immune to the zombie virus, something that is extremely important for the story. But no, they just change the subject when Ellie dropped one of the world's biggest bombshells ever. Now, after giving all my mixed thoughts on this game, we get to the main point of this video and what inspired it in the first place. I realize I am probably stepping out of my place for this criticism, but I saw this clip a few weeks ago and it just moved this video idea to the forefront as I have some thoughts on this. Most of you probably already know who Jacksepticeye is, and I have a massive amount of respect for him as a person, and the things he has done online with his charity, and just seemingly being a nice guy. However, one of his videos rubbed me the wrong way, and it was the one where he talked about hot takes and The Last of Us 2 showed up.
The Last of Us Part 2 is actually a really good game. People just hated on it because their favorite character died and or didn't like that the protagonists were strong women. Oh, hallelujah. Yes. Why am I doing that? I recently went through Last of Us Part 2 again, and now that I kind of know what to expect by playing as Abby for like half the game, I think it made it a lot easier to get through. I love that game. It's really, really good. It got leaked early. People saw that Joel died early. Then when he actually died in the game, people just used that to get mad. They didn't like strong women. They don't like a lesbian relationship. They don't like
Banjo-Kazooie.
They don't like trans people. Beating people into a pulp and chopping heads off and gutting people, that's all totally fine. But when it comes to any of the other stuff, people got mad.
Now, I'm going to give Jack the benefit of the doubt here with how he phrased his argument, but I disagree with what he said, and I think it's a symptom of a bigger issue surrounding this game. What Jack is referencing is what I mentioned earlier with how this game got leaked and how people started hating on it for no reason because of all the choices it made out of context. However, what I think Jack should have mentioned here that I will say now is that the people that spouted hate for this game because of the elements they didn't like, such as lesbian couples and strong women, were just a vocal minority. There are plenty of people that hated this game, and by the way that Jack phrased it, he made it sound like people disliked it and hated the game only because of those elements, which is just not true. There are lots of reasons why people would dislike the game, like the characters being too abrasive, the way the story was told wasn't the best, or they just didn't connect to the story like the developers really wanted them to. And when I go online and just see that people saying that those with valid criticism of the game, or people that the game just didn't connect with, are just haters and bigots, I get mad. Once again, I'm not saying that Jack called everyone who hated this game a bigot, I'm just saying that the way he phrased his argument was poor. You can like or dislike anything you want in this world, but the moment you start simplifying and watering down complex arguments, you lose valid criticism and the point of what they were trying to say. And when people say the phrase, "you just don't get it" in regards to this story, that is also not helpful. Because most people understood what happened in the story. You're just being annoying and trying to make the people that dislike the game seem dumb. Basically, just let people like or dislike what they want as long as it's not harmful. And stop simplifying the argument or holding media up on a holy pedestal that only the finest chaps can appreciate. It's dumb and a worthless argument. Similarly to how in the previous argument, people who like the game were simplifying arguments and just acting dumb, people who say that The Last of Us 2 is just revenge is bad is also acting dumb in a similar way. The Last of Us 2 has a lot to say about perspective, the cycle of violence, PTSD, grief, and forgiveness. All of these elements are present within the story and add to the nuances of the game and the aspects that I do like. But with the subreddit I mentioned earlier, r/The Last of Us Part 2, you see this argument all the time that this game is just a BS message that revenge is bad and that you shouldn't do it. But as I just mentioned, this game is super detailed and has a lot to say about multiple themes that often interact with one another in the real world. So to just water down the game by just saying it's a ham-fisted story about how revenge is bad is also quite reductive to the discussion surrounding this game. As we've discussed, Abby is already a character that many people are going to dislike because of how she is handled within the story. She murders one of the most popular video game characters in one of the most brutal ways possible, and then you have to play as her for half the game, even at one point playing as her when trying to kill Ellie. A decent chunk of people were not going to like Abby for what she was, no matter how much the game tries to convince you to forgive her, and that's just how it is. I definitely do think that some moments go overboard, like when you play as Abby when you fight Ellie and you try to kill her. There is even a scene where Ellie tries to tell Abby that Dina is pregnant, and then Abby just responds with, "Good," then tries to slit her throat only to be stopped by Lev. I felt like this moment went too far and made Abby more unlikable. Because unlike Ellie where she broke down when she saw she killed a pregnant woman, Abby damn near seemed to enjoy the fact that she gets to kill a pregnant woman. So I understand the hate for Abby, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see where it's coming from. I think she's fine, her implementation in this story is just too clunky at times. Characters like Tommy from the original game are very present in The Last of Us 2, and have a lot to do in the plot. Tommy in particular had some decisions that were definitely strong and rubbed people the wrong way. Decisions such as Tommy leaving Ellie and Jackson, and him wanting Ellie to get revenge for him at the end of the game. While I do not dislike these decisions, it is understandable why some people can think this game ruined characters from the first game when you made their characters' actions more abrasive. Tommy leaving Ellie and Jackson makes sense when you consider the fact that Ellie is everything that Joel fought for in the later part of his life. But by bringing her on a revenge quest with him, he would risk putting her in danger, which he didn't want to do to his brother. And Tommy is consumed by revenge at the end of The Last of Us 2, so it makes sense that he would want Ellie to go go after Abby after what she did to him and Jesse. Characters from the first game like Tommy, Joel, and Ellie making abrasive decisions throughout the game made me understand when people say they didn't like how those characters were written in this game. I still go back and forth on some of these decisions, but I agree it is very tough to watch characters you grew to love in the first game all become even more broken than they were before, or literally dead by the end of the game. This last point is something that I saw on the Last of Us 2 subreddit, this post, which is saying that The Last of Us 2 gaslights you into thinking that Joel's decisions and actions at the end of the first game were selfish and wrong. And hoo boy, do I have some stuff to say about this. First of all, Joel's actions at the end of The Last of Us was a moral dilemma that they wanted the player to think and ponder if it was the right decision. But at the end of the day, Joel pretty much killed everyone in that hospital when they wanted to kill his daughter for an operation. Joel didn't care about ideas like the Fireflies are disorganized or this cure may not even work. Joel simply did not want to lose another daughter like he did at the beginning of the first game. In Joel's mind, he potentially damned all of the world to be stuck with the zombie infection forever because he did not want to give up his child. Even if all the protocol regarding the operation and the Firefly operation was in tip-top shape, Joel made a very personal decision for himself that was selfish. He was acting in his own self-interest that he would have killed those hospital people no matter what because he did not want to go through that pain again. Now whether you think what he did was right or not is up for you to decide, but to go on to say that the second game tried to brainwash you into thinking that Joel was being selfish at the end of the first game is just wrong. It just shows you what effect Joel's actions had on people around the hospital, like with Abby. So no, I don't think that the second game tries to make you hate Joel. It is just further contextualizing his actions and showing what he did and how it affects people. Alright, well that is all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope for my own sanity that I do not make another video on The Last of Us 2, because while I enjoyed making this video to put my thoughts out there, it is quite draining talking about this game since all the opinions on it are at each other's throats. This is one of the more serious videos I have made for this channel compared to my usual comedic tone. Either way, I hope you at least understand where I come from. I did not want to make this video to make anyone feel bad, just to state my thoughts on the matter. I would love to hear your opinions and arguments on this game in the comment section below. Just keep it civil, please. But with that, I am done. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Peace.